All right, for more, let's bring in Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, member of the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Senator, good to see you. Appreciate you joining me. All right, Southwest Airlines Association President Casey Murray, they're telling Fox News that this whole mess was preventable. Take a listen.
All the employees are out there doing everything we can. You know, at the end of the day, Southwest wasn't prepared. And unfortunately, this has been a decade in the making. We have sounded alarm bells. We have tried to get them to change processes, but it's a combination of processes, outdated technology, and infrastructure.
Senator, you know, this was a decade in the making. This was preventable. What do you make of this?
Yeah, Sean, well, good afternoon to you and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and your family. But you're right, this was preventable. That's what's so frustrating. I've had multiple conversations with some of the Southwest Air pilots, and they tell me exactly what you're describing there. You know, first of all, Southwest underestimated this winter storm that was approaching. They could have had people spend the night, spend the day preceding the storm, keeping all the airplanes warm. So they didn't keep them warm, and they got so cold they never could get them heated back up. Within hours, their IT system crashed. They were down to using paper and pencil. And again, like you pointed out last night on Hannity and again today, is that we've known this for years, that they have an IT system that is antiquated, it's not working, and we can keep throwing the blame here, but what we need now is action. What we need is a call for Southwest Airlines to show us what does their IT plan upgrade look like, give us some dates when it's going to be implemented, but here we are, our Secretary of Transportation being reactive rather than proactive.
You know, that's a really good point. I mean, there is a role for government here, but what should it be? I mean, Mayor Pete, and I mentioned this last night, I mean, he couldn't fill the potholes in South Bend, Indiana. Do we really believe that Mayor Pete should do an investigation to see what the problems were at Southwest Airlines? Or is there a role for the Congress? Or do we say, listen, the market is going to sort this out. You can't have an airline that strands people over Christmas, that can't fly its flights, and think that any customers are going to actually go to that airline.
Yeah, Sean, I'm reminded of what President Reagan said, the 9 scariest words in the English language. I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. Government should be proactive rather than reactive. Again, we've known this problem for years. Even Southwest Airlines president has highlighted it as well. We should have been asking them 6 months ago, 2 years ago, saying, give us a plan to fix this problem. Be careful what we wish for here. It just scares me to death for the government to become more involved. I think there'll be unintended consequences. I don't think that necessarily need more rules and regulations. I think that the consumers out here will hold Southwest Airlines accountable.
I do too. No, I think there's a lot of Americans who are upset. Obviously, the federal government, the taxpayers, gave the airline industry $7 billion. They weren't flying airplanes during COVID. Maybe that would have been a good time to upgrade your system. It probably would have been appropriate then, but I think they missed that opportunity. Who knows? Maybe they didn't have any extra cash during the pandemic. Senator, I want to switch gears on you because I got to tell you what burns me. I served in Congress, with you. I was there 9 years. And the fact that 18 Republican senators voted for this 4,000-page bill, $1.7 trillion monstrosity, they could have waited 5 days, Senator, and Kevin McCarthy and House Republicans would take over. You would have Republicans in the House, Republicans in the Senate working together to figure out how we spend money. But instead, these senators joined with Democrats to totally tie the hands of House Republicans that are going to take the majority. Have you talked to any of those 18 senators? What do they tell you why they voted for this thing?
Well, Sean, I'm always careful when I speak for other people, whether it's senators or other people in my party especially. But I think their logic was that we could have ended up even with more debt added, that if we would have given this problem over to Kevin McCarthy with just such a narrow margin, it could have even ended up being worse. But that's no excuse. That's why I voted against the bill. I think our number one concern, our number one problem for national security, for the future of our children, for education, for building roads and bridges is our national debt. We are going to add $1 trillion to it this year, another $1 trillion next year, and this bill just adds to it. That's why I can't support it. But I don't know that I can offer excuses. I don't think there are any excuses at this point in time.
Well, I think there's so many Americans who just don't understand, why you'd have 18 Republicans who would vote for this massive spending bill, and there's no rationale behind it. I mean, I look at Republicans who have to now go out and say, you know what, I care about spending, I care about a $30 trillion deficit, and elect us, give us money to run our campaigns, volunteer your time, go to the ballot box and vote for me. Republicans have no credibility. They're becoming big spending Democrats. And I wonder what those 18 have more in common with, Senate Democrats as opposed to the new Republican majority in the House. I just don't get it. I can't wrap my head around it.
Well, Sean, I'm not sure that I can either. And it's just not the $31 trillion national debt we have that we're adding to. It's what was not in the bill. If the national debt's the number one long-term threat to national security, the most immediate threat to the safety and security of our families is an open southern border, and there's no money in it for that. So how can we come up with goodness, we're going to spend $6 trillion this year at the federal government, but we cannot secure our own border. We can give Ukraine $100 billion, but we can't spend $25 billion to secure our southern border. So I'm with you. Maybe we need you back in Congress and being a leader again to help us through some of these tough roads.
Well, Senator, it looks like, what are the priorities of the Senate? And you go, yeah, we're going to spend more money, spend billions of dollars to secure other people's borders. We're going to send money to our border, but not to secure it, but just so you can process more people more quickly so you don't get lines of people at the border, so news cameras can pick that up and Americans can understand what Democrats are actually doing at the southern border. But to your point, there is no money to secure our southern border in this bill. And by the way, had those 18 held out in the Senate, we would have had border security money with a Kevin McCarthy majority in the House.
Right. And again, as we were on the campaign trail this last November, the number 1 and 2 problems I heard from people were inflation and their security. And right now, what's fueling inflation is the federal government borrowing more and more money, adding to that national debt as well. So this bill actually makes inflation worse, and then it hurts our border security, doing just the opposite of what Kansans were telling me this past fall out on the campaign trail.
We talk about the border, and I know this is an issue that you're hot on, but fentanyl that is streaming across the southern border that's insecure, that's killing Americans on a daily basis. Can the GOP do anything to get this under control, or is this really the administration that has to work to secure the border and stop the flow of fentanyl into the country?
Well, certainly there is something the GOP can do. We can basically make a full halt on the federal government until we get Joe Biden and the Democrats committed to funding, securing the border. And in places that's going to be building a wall, in places it's going to be adding more technology and more boots on the ground. But I'm very willing to shut the government down, doing whatever it takes in order to make that a priority. So that's where the focus needs to be. Certainly there's some other pieces of the puzzle. We have a legislation called the Cooper Davis Act that we're working with Senator Shaheen from New Hampshire, helping us with that. It's working with social media companies, making them to be proactive when they see illicit fentanyl, any type of drugs being purchased through the social media. We sure appreciate Snapchat helping us with that bill as well. So there's pieces we can do in Congress working in a bipartisan fashion, but with 90% of this fentanyl coming across our southern border, that's where the problem starts, is fixing that border wall once again.
Senator, before I let you go, I want to talk to you about energy quickly. You're on the Energy Committee in the Senate. We just saw how important fossil fuels are. As you had this cold snap come across the United States, we had all of this massive snow in Buffalo, New York. Windmills and solar panels don't actually work, but fossil fuels do. They actually save lives. Do you think that any Democrats in the Congress are starting to pick up the fact that fossil fuels save lives and actually green energy can actually kill people?
Well, they certainly don't want to say that out loud, but our emphasis has been is that we need affordable, reliable, and clean energy, and we can do all the above, and we are. That our nation's carbon footprint is at, a 14-year low. We're continuing to go in the right direction. We do know, though, that wind and solar will not be an adequate base load for us, especially when there's these really high temperatures or low temperatures, that we're going to need natural gas. We're going to probably need more nuclear in the future as well. I'm excited about the nuclear technology out there where we're using modular reactors. We're using waste fuel from current nuclear plants. That's probably where the future is going to be. Again, the base load is the problem when those peak energy events require, and solar and wind. There's nothing even on the drawing board that would tend to suggest that they can supply base load. So it's going to be a combination of natural gas along with nuclear fuel in the near future.
Senator, and those things you mentioned, those are American energy sources. But you look at the green energy movement, it's basically a sellout to China. I appreciate all your work and all your common sense in the Senate, in your friendship. Senator Roger Marshall, thanks for joining me.